flip the switch or you're going to have to start saying no to a lot of stuff.
Hello. Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast, presented by Hippo Direct. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur or innovator every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Branstetter, podcasting dude at Hippo Direct, and you can reach me at max@hippodirect.com to help bring your podcast to life and use it as a marketing tool. This is episode Z1079, and today's guest is Jessica, not Alfred, Hitchcock. She is a finance director turned full-time artist who creates some of the most beautiful paintings you will ever see. In this interview, we talk about her creative process, how to start a business around something that you are super passionate about, and in the unusual section, she basically just totally unleashes into her own talent show, and I've just never heard anything like it, so get ready for that. Let's get hitched. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Jessica Hitchcock, the professional businesswoman extraordinaire turned full-time artist. I'm sure that is the official title that you're going for. Jessica, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Great, Max. Thanks for having me.
Of course. This has been a long time coming. We've been connected on IG for the longest time and just been blown away by your art. And the more I learned about your story, I was like, oh my God, we need to set up this interview. We need to have Jessica on the show. So this is really cool. The first burning question I have though is any relation to Alfred?
No, unfortunately, no. This is actually my married name. That's why I married my husband, was for the last name.
Gotcha.
I'm totally just kidding. No relation, but it's a fun last name. So I enjoy it.
It definitely is. You don't see too many Hitchcocks out there, but that's quite the brand halo that ties you to.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to get into the thriller or horror world, I think you have a natural setup there.
Just fit right in, yeah.
Exactly. But we're going to dive into your art in a bit. But before that, imagine a world where art didn't exist, which I know is like a terrible thought. I know you just kind of sorry to ruin your day, but what do you think you would be doing?
Honestly, I would just be doing accounting and bookkeeping, which I love. So it's not exactly a complete downfall. It would be sad because it wouldn't be for an art organization, because that was, I love accounting and numbers and all of that stuff. And so I would really just be doing that, working in a business as an accounting or bookkeeper. Again, it is a passion of mine, but I just love the fact of tying it in with an art organization. That's kind of the awesome part, but that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, but that's not possible because there's no, I'm just messing with you. But yeah, you do have a background in that world and in the finance world. What appealed to you about that part and the number side of thing in the first place?
Wow. Well, that's a great question. When I got an office job, initially, it was just like that entry level position, just kind of talking to customers and things like that. But I had a knack for business naturally, which I had no idea. And I would say I'm kind of like a weed in an office. Like I just want to continue to learn and pick up pieces and just that problem solving. And I want to streamline processes. And these are like traits that I had no idea that I had. So eventually I just kept getting more and more responsibilities in the office setting. And I was doing accounts receivable and I was doing raw materials inventory and all of these different things. And it became a passion. And I think I'm drawn to that, and how it even ties into running your own business. It's just that problem solving. There's always some creative outlet that you can learn and solve and streamline and make better. And so I think that's why I was drawn to it, because it does have that creative aspect to it, in a way of thinking outside the box. And even with the numbers, it's just kind of like a problem you're solving. And I don't know, just the endless opportunity of ways to streamline processes and answer questions.
Well, you are creative to the core, because I think there's a lot of jokes. There's jokes about every profession, but the jokes about the accounting world don't typically revolve around creativity and creative problem solving.
Yeah,
so you've taken
no
an innovative approach to that. When that was your full-time gig, what steps or process did you have for creative problem solving? I mean, you mentioned you were like a weed in the office. I mean, did you take it upon yourself to ask around and learn as much as possible, or is there kind of a more internal approach that you took to solving these problems?
Kind of a little bit of both. I mean, I would always pay attention to what other people were doing and kind of ask questions and kind of like, oh, do you need any help with this? Can I help? Or maybe if we do it this way, this may streamline it. But I would say that would be the most creative approach I had, is to really take in how it was currently being done and look for other opportunities or any other things that I could take on. I just constantly wanted to move into those areas. And so even in the business setting, it was kind of like, if they don't want me to work on this, they'll tell me to stop. And no one ever told me to stop. So I just kind of kept taking on more things and learning more things. And that was just really the creative hunger of wanting to always learn more.
Ooh, creative hunger. I like that. That's a new
Coin that term.
that's a new one. Yeah, we'll trademark it right here.
Yeah.
I'll call up a friend. But so you're in this office job, you're doing stuff in the finance world. I know you did some things in the HR world as well. Are you painting? Are you doing your whole art? Your whole art. Are you doing art this whole time, or is there a certain point that you kind of picked it up and was like, "Hey, this is pretty cool."
Yeah, so that's actually like the interesting part of the journey and the story, because no, I was not doing art at all. I started painting in high school, and that was where I learned that I enjoyed it and I had a knack for it. So, of course, when people ask high schoolers, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? So I was like, I want to be an artist. But back when I was in high school, there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook. We had MySpace. Do you remember MySpace?
I do, which actually it's still around. Like we always joke about it not being around. It's still around. It's just maybe not quite as popular as it used to be.
Right, right. So, I mean, there really wasn't a platform for artists to share their work or think outside the box. So, of course, when you tell people you want to be an artist, the initial response is, oh, starving artist, you don't want to do that. You're not going to be able to pay your bills. So, I didn't go to school for artistry or getting a master's or anything like that. I was actually just a waitress at that. Well, waitresses are awesome. So I don't say just a waitress because they're fantastic. But I ended up getting this office job after being a waitress and things like that. And I wanted to learn business. And that is when I ended up getting my business degree. So I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. And that's through working in this admin position, realizing that I had a knack and a passion for business and numbers and accounting. And that's when I got my bachelor's and went to school then. Still not painting at all. And we were still living in Illinois at the time. I didn't live in St. Louis, Missouri at that point either. In 2013, ended up moving to St. Louis, Missouri, to a city where I knew nobody other than my boyfriend at the time, now my husband. And
You knew the St. Louis Arch as well, probably.
I knew the Arch. I was familiar with the Arch and the Cardinals.
There you go.
But that was really it. And still didn't paint for those 2 years. I worked in an office at the time, and eventually in 2015, when I got my job at an art organization working in the administration office, that's when I picked up painting again. And that's kind of when it all started. But even moving to a new city where you don't know anyone and starting an art business from nothing and nobody and no contacts, it's been a really fun, exciting journey.
Yeah, certainly. And you can feel it in your voice. I think that's maybe the most mind-blowing thing about your whole story is if you go to your website or your Instagram, if you go to jessicahitchcock.org and look at your paintings, I mean, they're so beautiful, they're so colorful, they're so creative. There's just such a fun vibe about them.
Thank
And so I
you.
think anybody would guess, oh my God, Jessica's probably been painting since she was like 3 months old and never stopped. And that's the really fascinating part is you actually weren't doing it the whole time, but you picked it up and have still been able to be that powerful of an artist.
Well, thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah,
Of
no, I have
course.
not been
You
painting
paid
since
me for
3 years
that.
old. Yeah, it's true.
Let's get to art being your full-time job. So at what point did it click for you that, hey, starving artist, yada, 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 I want this to be what I do full time. And I believe in myself that I can do this.
Well, It's funny because I started painting in 2015 and the business, it grew. I mean, I still call it, it's my art practice, but I always consider it a business. It grew and it grew. And it was around 2017 of just seeing other artists on Instagram and seeing them thrive and make good money and just their marketing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. Like, this is legit. This is an option. But I still didn't consider it for myself until probably, I think that was 2018. And it was my husband and also my colleague that was in the finance office with me. I mean, they saw how hard I was working. At 4 a.m., I was waking up and painting before work, of course, 4:30 a.m., painting, doing commissions. At lunchtime, I'd be picking up prints and packing orders and shipping them. And then in the evenings, I would be painting more. And I mean, and it was a labor of love because I absolutely loved it. There's times I would tell my husband, I got to skip dinner, I got to get this done. And it was just that constant, it is a hustle, it was a hustle mentality, but it was that just love of the game kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they said, you are spending a lot of time in this. It's kind of turned into a second full time job. Can you do this full time? Because I really think that you can. And at that point, being the bookkeeper, numbers lover that I am, I crunched the numbers and I put together like this projected. I call it like my runway, my financial runway of when I could save up enough money where I felt comfortable, what I needed in order to leave my full-time job. So I was very methodical in that process of, can I make this a full-time gig? What do I need to do it? And when's that date that I'm, moving on into this?
That's so cool. You actually use your background in, we'll call it the numbers world, and it
Yeah.
applied to help start up your new business. But you hear about so many entrepreneurs that when they're working another full time job, they are working kind of crazy hours on their side hustle. And for you, it's really cool that that side hustle, it's not just figuring out what is this new business going to look like or working on new clients, things like that. You're painting that whole time. So it's like quite the mix of your full time job at the time and then painting. I can't believe that you would wake up at like 4 a.m. to do this. When you think back to that, what's going through your mind at that moment? Are you waking up and you're like, oh God, like I only have this much amount of time to get this painting done before work? Or is it more like you just wake up energized because this is something that you love doing?
It was kind of a mix of both. I mean, of course, there are days where you're just like, I need to get out of these orders, or I need to make sure that I'm meeting people's dates. If they commission me for a pet portrait that they're going to give to their wife as a gift, there's deadlines, and I've never missed a deadline. And it was just this nice blend too of waking up and having that, this is what I get to do. Like, people are paying me, like, this is a side business that I'm actually making money to do something I'm passionate about, and I still get to go to work and I'm passionate about accounting. So it was this weird, I was kind of in awe that I got to wake up that early and have work for something I was so passionate about, and then during the day I could still do things I was passionate about.
That's an awesome mix there. How would you describe your style of painting?
Let's see. Well, it's very, and I kind of put it in this context all the time. It is very lively and energetic and bright and joyful, and no matter what the subject matter is. So I paint abstracts. I've painted animals and cityscapes and flowers and uh, pastries, like my confection collection I had, which was a really fun thing to do. It's all very bright and colorful, and it's just energetic and it's joyful, and it just has the power to really change the way that someone is feeling. I know this may sound like completely cheesy, but I have had people say, just looking at your artwork, it makes me feel better. Or, I'm a cynical person, but when I see your work, it makes me happy. And I just absolutely love that about artwork, that it has the power to really transform the way people are feeling and what they're thinking. And so I think that my artwork has the power to do that through the color and the energy that's put into each piece.
It definitely does. I think just looking at one of your pieces, I like the word lively because it's very specific, but it's sure to put a smile on your face or at least make you think happy thoughts. And I think that's amazing. How did you find your niche in that area?
It really just came about naturally since, I didn't go to school for this, even though when I was in school, I did take a few studio courses just to kind of learn. It really, especially with the color palettes, it's so natural. I don't know anything really about color theory, so I don't teach that. But it's just this natural ingrained sometimes when you put two colors next to each other, like I could just see the energy and like that vibration and how the colors play off one another. And I mean, it really is just trial and error. And I have tried to create paintings that have more neutral earth tone feels to it. And then at the end of the day, they end up being this bright explosion of color. So
you
it's just
can't
like,
you can't turn away from it. You can't
yeah,
turn it off.
exactly. I can't hide from it. So it really is just this natural, even between the color theory aspect of it, just kind of like as I go, it's just my eye knows what it wants to see. And so I just kind of move through that.
I just love how you can't turn it off. And so I think that
Yeah.
that kind of proves how that style is a perfect fit for you because it's just naturally coming out.
Yeah.
How much of your time is spent actually doing these paintings and doing your artwork versus working on the business and figuring out different revenue streams and new business opportunities? What's kind of the parallel there?
That is a fantastic question.
Oh, thank you. I don't I often get, great question, but not often do I get fantastic
Well,
questions. So
that's one
thank
of
you.
them. That's one of
That's a
them.
fantastic compliment.
I would say probably 60-40, 60% working on the business and 40% painting in the studio. And the reason why that is, and I teach this in some of my business for artists courses, but there's so much that takes place past the easel. And you can create all the paintings in the world, the most beautiful creations. But if you don't know the business side, if you don't know your finances, if you aren't strategic in your marketing, if you don't know how to market it or reach and grow your audience, it's a business at the end of the day. So even if you painted all these things and they just sat in your studio, it's not doing you or anyone any good. It's not serving anybody. And so with my business, I do create, but it's also just that idea that there's so much more that happens past the studio. There's just so much more past the easel. And to run a successful art business, because it's a blessing that we get to do what we love, and get paid for our passion. And so all these turns of phrases sound pretty cheesy, but it's so true. It's such a great thing. And to be able to properly harness that and realize you can create, and that's one thing, but man, sharing it with people in the proper way and being able to sustain that is such a big deal. So that's why I spend a lot of time on the business background of it too, just to make sure that, I'm in it for the long haul. So I want to make sure that I'm setting my business up appropriately.
Yeah, and you need to be that way if you want it to be whatever you're doing full time. And no problem with the cheesy references. I love cheese, so the more cheese the better.
Beautiful.
But when you look across your business as a whole and what you've set up and grown over the years, we obviously don't need to talk numbers specifically, but what kind of mix of different revenue streams do you have? Obviously, what comes to mind is your artwork, but you're helping other artists turn their passion into a full-time business. I know there's other stuff you're doing as well. What's kind of the breakdown there?
Yeah, no, another fantastic question.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. Don't need to say that every time, but
I
every
know.
every other.
But that's really great because especially when you're running a business, it's so important, and especially creative business, to have different revenue streams. And the teaching other artists, that's just something that came about this year. So a lot of it is, of course, selling originals that I create, selling commissions. I have prints, I have products, there's some licensing that I do. There are some events that I take place in. I really enjoy, and I know this year's been a little different because of COVID, but a lot of boutiques and coffee shops, I will put artwork out there because I'm just really big on reaching the masses, with my artwork. So those are the main things. There is a lot of them, but it's just so important to have a healthy business is to have a lot of different revenue streams.
Definitely. Yeah, to diversify your streams there.
Mhm.
Which of those takes up most of your time when you're in that kind of creating mode?
I would probably say the commissions, only because you're working with someone, and I love that process of creating a piece and a special custom piece for people based on what they have in mind and putting my spin on it and that collaboration. But it also goes back to just that thought of that perfectionist, and I want to be sure this is their vision. I want to be sure this is what they have in mind. So sometimes it will take me a little longer to work on commission pieces just because of my constant want to be sure that it's what they have in mind as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like whenever you're working on something like that, it's a cool time to be extra creative, but also focused based on whatever the request is or whatever,
Mhm.
however it's being used. When you think about how you've been able to market the business and grow the business, what tool or strategy that you've used has proven to be most effective?
Oh, honestly, it has just been the genuine connection with other people. And networking, maybe this dirty word, but it's so true just to like go to
I,
events or
I I
even
think I think it's mostly clean. It's okay.
but just the genuine connection with people, not just, reaching out to people here and there and here and there, but actually building these relationships with people in person, going to networking events and meeting other people and talking with them and being thoughtful about it, and but also online and getting to know people's stories and their backgrounds and cheer them on. That has been just this honest intention behind it. I mean, and people could feel when you're genuine and authentic, but that has probably been the biggest part of my growth with my business, is just the fact that I love people and I want to learn all about them and I want to cheer them on and empower them and get to know them. And through that, that's how a lot of opportunities have come up in the past. It really is just the connection.
That's so cool. It ties right back to the style of your art and the cheerful and positive vibes there.
Yeah.
I discovered you on Instagram, and so of course was blown away by your Instagram presence, and it's Instagram in itself is such a powerful and such a fantastic opportunity for artists and people in the creative space since it is such a visual medium. How impactful has Instagram been for you?
It has been a complete game changer. That's where a lot of my focused effort has been over the past few years. And the reach that you're able to have, and going back to the whole connection as well, the connections that you're able to make with people and meet people, and even just using a hashtag of the city that you're in, like STL artist, getting opportunities through that. Even something, I mean, it's just mind blowing. The opportunities, I mean, it's been a complete game changer for my business, 100% hands down, through the connections I've made, people sharing the artwork through that, and really just being intentional about the growth and reaching out and meeting people through the space. Going back to, it's just been a game changer.
It has, and you can see it just by looking at your account. What if you kind of figured out, like, everybody's trying to like hack the algorithm and figure out what hashtags are the right thing to use, but in addition to just trying to be genuine and positive and connecting with people and having a passion for people, what else has proven really effective for you on Instagram?
To be honest, it's kind of like the moment I stopped focusing on the numbers, like the how many followers I have and all of that jazz, and I've actually just consistently been showing up and sharing, messages, sharing my journey, like that really has been what's made all the difference in my experience. There's no secret thing, or I don't really care about the algorithm. I don't really, not say I don't care about the followers. I focus on I'm all about bringing people into my world, but I make sure that the people that are currently following me and in my world, that I am taking care of them and I'm nurturing them and I'm connecting and communicating with them. And that is what has made all the difference, to be honest. So when it comes to Instagram, that's what's worked for me, is really just focusing on the people that are in my world. So,
I think that's the beautiful irony of it, is the moment that you stop caring so much about all the numbers and all the algorithm things like that and just continue to focus on the quality of your work and what you love doing,
mhm.
people just somehow seem to get that, and it resonates with people. And it's whether it's Instagram or whether you have a podcast or a show on YouTube or, a show on Netflix, like whatever you're doing, if you keep that focus on quality, it can work wonders for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's really neat that that's paid off for you. And on the Instagram note, I've seen so many of your amazing works through Instagram. And I think, as you mentioned before, it's not just the pieces of art that you do just out of your studio, kind of everyday pieces. You do stuff with licensing, you have all sorts of creative events. So I want to touch on some of those. You've done some live painting before.
Yes.
Can you share a time that you did do a live painting and maybe one that's most memorable to you?
Wow, that's great. There are actually a few of them, but I don't want to go off on any tangents, but one that was really fantastic was I was asked to paint live at a wedding. And
Oh my God.
yeah, yeah, I mean, talk about the stress of making sure it turns out okay. Yeah, so it was I mean, just to be part of that moment, and the couple has been following my art for a while, which was great too, and they've been my cheerleaders, so it was just a great experience to be able to show up and paint live and get their first dance and take the photos, and make sure that the vision that they had for that piece, because I did meet with them and see what they had in mind, but bringing that to life and like seeing their face when they saw it finished for the first time, I mean, that was probably one of the main memorable things. It was just such a special, special moment.
That is incredibly special. That's really cool you had that opportunity. How did you go about choosing the painting that you did, the type of work that you did for it?
Well, I met with them, and so I did ask, okay, did you want your first dance? Did you want, the first look, or during the wedding, anything like that? And they're like, no, we really want the first dance, kind of thing. So I just kind of worked with their vision, and whatever they wanted, I made it happen.
Of course. Well, it's not like people have strong feelings about how they want their wedding to go or anything.
Yeah.
But and then another project that you did that was really, really cool, jumped out to me was you've designed a wine bottle before.
Yes.
Tell
Yes.
us about
So
that.
that is so I'm like, I feel like I'm so overly excited for these things, but that was a fantastic opportunity. George DeBoeuf is a French wine company, and they create a lot of different wines, and this was for the Beaujolais Nouveau. And that I learned
I
about
might need
this.
a translator for this part, but keep going.
That style of wine is from the Beaujolais region, and it's the first harvest. And so it's a traditional party type wine. So they don't tamper with it, they do the harvest and they bottle it. And it's supposed to be shared like Thanksgiving and the holidays with your friends and your family. And it's really just about the traditions of the holidays. And they were having a contest to where artists can submit their artwork for the label, and based on votes like shares and likes and all these things from social media, that's how they determined who was first place, second place, third place, all of that. So for me, I was sharing that on my social media, and I got that opportunity because of the support that I have. And that's what makes it so special. Like my friends, my family, my followers, all of them were sharing it and liking and taking that extra step to go to a website, to comment, all of that. And so, yes, my artwork ended up winning to be showcased on their 2018 bottles that were sold to Costco's across the United States.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, and I mean, you're used to seeing your works like in public spaces and in people's homes, things like that. But what was it like seeing something that you design in Costco's across America?
Absolutely insane, especially when I saw it for the first time in the store and they were bringing out the palette. They had it on the wheel and they kind of brought it out, and I got to see it all in the cases. And it was special too because like friends and family across the country would take pictures of them at their local Costco, buying the wine and sharing that with me and sharing that on their social media. And it was just like this awing experience, like, holy cow, my friends in Albuquerque, New Mexico, are picking up this bottle of wine. It has my name on it, and the name of my artwork. And Chicago, it's just this overwhelming sense of wow. And the fact that it wasn't because of me, it was because of my support and my following, like they made that happen. And it was just like this really great feeling.
I'm imagining that you went to Costco and left with like the entire pallet and somehow stuffed it in your car to take, because if I designed a wine label, I would just drink that forever, I think.
Yeah, I definitely had a cart full of like 3 to 5 cases of wine, and of course, I was getting the side glances and side eyes. I'm like, "This is me. This is my artwork." Yeah, so don't judge me. This is my stuff.
That's great. Well, you definitely deserve it.
Oh, thanks.
And then your collections that you have on your website, it's a really cool mix of different things. I mean, you mentioned everything from animals, shout out hippos. I'm not sure if you've done a hippo, but you need to do a hippo. That's an
Noted.
official request. But no, I mean, my mom loves giraffes. So when we saw the
Yes.
giraffe, we're like, oh my God, that's perfect.
Aw.
But anyway, everything from animals to pastries to different landscapes and abstract stuff you do. Which one of those collections has been the most fun and kind of just naturally effortless for you?
Wow. They all have something a little different. The abstracts are special because I'm just focusing on color. And I think color is like the complete underline, of course, of my artwork. And that's what really brings it to life. But I really have to say, I enjoyed the confection collection, which was of the cakes and pies and popsicles.
That's got a good ring to it too. That's kind of a tongue twister.
Yeah, yeah, it took a while to think of the name. Um, but I went to a museum and I saw Wayne Thiebaud's work, and he is an artist that created pastries and things like that. So if you Google it, he's a very famous artist for that. And I saw his artwork for the first time in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm like, that is fantastic. Like, I want to make desserts that are bright and colorful and lively. I mean, just, the whole gamut of what my artwork's all about. And I remember thinking, okay, where am I going to get photos to paint these things? Where am I going to get the inspiration? I'm like, well, I could go to Pinterest and just, see if I can generate any ideas or, reach out to people. But then I thought, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. There are so many fantastic dessert, local businesses here. Why not? And I love supporting local business. Like, I'm all about that. So I thought, well, why don't I pick like 3 local businesses and see if they'd be interested in me using some of their photos from their social media or marketing campaigns to paint some of their work. So, and that's what makes it so special, because I worked with 3 different local businesses, and I'm painting their actual desserts, their actual photos, their actual stuff. And when I had the paintings created, I set up a meeting with each of the owners. And I was like, okay, I have them done. Do you want to see them in person before the collection release and get a photo together? And so it was just this working together. I'm promoting them and supporting them, and they're helping me. So I have images to paint too. It was just this incredible moment of collaboration. And that was just really special. And to see them see their paintings for the first time, like these works that I created of their stuff, it was really just this awesome collaboration that just came about out of nowhere. And I'm like, how can I bring more people into this? How can I, get the photos of the desserts and also help local businesses? So that has to be one of my favorite collections, just because of the collaboration piece of it.
You can feel the magic with it when you talk about that moment where they see it, especially when it's something personalized like that. So
Hmm.
the confection collection, did I say it right? This
Yes, perfect, perfect.
sounds pretty awesome. So
Thank you.
everything that we've talked about with your business, with your art practice, with art studio, however you want to call it, is so much energy. There's so much joyful. There's so much cheer there. I think it's clearly going full time with it has been such an amazing move for you, and obviously very impactful move on your life. If you were to think back, let's say that you never went full time with it and it remained a side hustle that you were kind of working at odd hours to get some sort of revenue from. What do you think that business would look like today if you weren't able to commit as much time on it as you have?
Oh, it's really hard to say. I mean, it was naturally growing to where I couldn't keep up with it. So if I didn't make the transition, I mean, I would have to turn down a lot of work, and I probably wouldn't be making a lot of paintings. It'd be kind of dismal, to be honest. I'm kind of sad thinking about it, but it just wouldn't. It
Sorry
was
about that.
no, no, no. It's a good thing, but it just naturally grew into something that I could not sustain as one person. Now I'm still one person running the business, but it would have been a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of just not sharing my artwork with as many people as I could. So I'd have to probably turn down a lot of opportunities. Not to say everyone's chomping at the bit or whatnot, but just this, it was growing to a place that I could not sustain. So it was either flip the switch or you're gonna have to start saying no to a lot of stuff.
I love that. And I know it's can be dismal to talk about, but it's neat to look back on things from years ago and decisions that you made and think of how much it's blossomed, bloomed into something beautiful for you.
Yeah.
So that's a fantastic answer.
Oh, thanks.
That is a fantastic answer. And the fantastic answer to podcasts taking way too much time to make and taking up all your time is having somebody there for you who will do the production behind the scenes and help you out to save you time so you can focus back on your business and just doing the interviewing of your fantastic guests. So while we're using the word fantastic over and over again, a fantastic opportunity for you is to reach out to me at max@hippodirect.com if you would like podcast help. I will do the production. I will help you out with the planning and promotion of your podcast. You can focus on interviewing your guests and doing whatever is most important for your time running your business. Email me at max@hippodirect.com. Let's bring your professionally produced podcast to life. Now, to dive further into the creative mind of Jessica Hitchcock. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get to a segment on inspiration and creativity. So not that we've talked anything in the creative world so far, but something that jumps out to me that keeps coming up is your passion for color and using different colors and kind of the different feelings and emotions that come about there. How did you kind of start geeking out about the world of different colors and experimenting in this space? Like, is that something that is just kind of natural, intuitive to you, or come about another way?
So it's actually funny with when it comes to paints, like the quality of the paint that you use really makes a difference in how the colors blend and work together. So when I first started, obviously, I didn't have the kind of income to just spend $60 on a tube of paint because it does get pretty expensive. But once I got the quality of paints up, that was one thing. But a lot of my color inspiration is so random. Like if I see ads online and they have certain colors next to each other, just their design, I'll screenshot it and save it to some random folder that I have for color inspo. Or some friends, they were looking at a new house, and in one of the mock-up photos was a rug that had some really cool color schemes. I'm like, send me that photo. So it's completely random, like colors are everywhere and they're next to each other. And there's some palettes just catch your eye. And I'm like, I need this, take this photo, save it for later. So I have this folder of color inspiration from so many random places that it's just very random, but I just love the color schemes as I see them.
I like the peek into your craft of how you're screenshotting stuff and how inspiration can come from so many different places. I think,
Yeah, it's out there.
yeah, I think no matter what you're doing, just screenshotting something you see or taking a note in your notes app or keeping, a list of things in a Google Doc, something like that, I think can be so helpful to go back and access and find inspiration at a later time. What's the biggest thing you've learned about experimenting with these different colors in different types of paints? Is, as you said, it makes a difference based on the quality of paint.
Yes, the quality of paint. And also, I've noticed if I get in a creative rut and I don't feel energized or creative, I will go to the store and I will pick up like maybe two or three new colors that I've never worked with. And I'll kind of come home and work with those. And those turn out to be some of my best abstracts, because it's just this new energy and revitalizing that creativity and stepping outside what you're used to, because eventually you get so used to the way the colors work with one another. When I blend this with this is what I get. And to kind of get back to that creativity, that whole creative foundation of trying something new and stepping outside your comfort zone, I'll just buy a new color of paint and call it a day and give it a try.
Yeah. Try it out. Why not? What's the worst thing that
Yeah,
comes out of it?
exactly. I'll just, rework the canvas or throw it out, whatever, no big deal.
Yeah, it's really important to mix it up there.
Hmm.
How much do you mix up your paintings? Like, let's say you're working on a painting of a giraffe. Later that week, are you more likely to do a painting of another animal or to do something completely different?
Yeah, so that's why I work in collections because I try to keep it all in the same theme that I'm working on for several reasons. One, when I work in collections, it does create this buzz with my audience. They get to see the different processes, and it's kind of this streamlined look in a way, but also it helps to build on the skill. So when I'm working on a collection, if I'm doing animals and I'm painting a giraffe, it just helps to then paint a lion and paint this because I'm honing and tweaking this skill that I have and I'm building on it. As opposed to doing a giraffe one day, doing a pie one day, doing a flower piece one day. It just seems inconsistent and incoherent. And whether that's to my collectors or to me mentally trying to create things, to keep things in the same wheelhouse really makes a difference with how I build on it and how it ends up turning out as a group, as a collective.
You can feel with your collections that even though it's a different animal or if it's a different confection, I don't know if that's the right term,
No, no, it is.
but
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, if it's a different pastry, it still has the same overall theme. Like it fits together as part of the same overall family.
Yeah. It's cohesive.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. How about when you are needing to switch things up or needing to find some creative inspiration? I mean, you mentioned earlier that sometimes it could be as simple as running to the store and trying out new paint colors. Sometimes it can be screenshotting an ad you got on Instagram and finding some inspiration from there. What other ways do you stay creative
I like to run and bike. So doing
at the same
those,
time?
yeah, at the
That
same
takes
time,
talent.
absolutely. Yeah, super talent. I've been practicing a while. But yeah, so if I'm running, and especially this goes into not just the painting, but I also, teach other artists and have a, Facebook group page and courses. When I'm running or biking, it's like these ideas just start coming to me. And it really helps just the creative process. And especially as I'm running, I start getting excited about the ideas and I start running faster. So it's good for my time too. But just building on these ideas, I don't know, just getting out there and disconnecting and going for a bike ride, going for a run for a little bit of the day, it really just gets this fresh, nuanced idea, and then I'll have to come home and I'll jot it all down and things like that. So really just running and biking and doing that really just opens up all of these new ideas and how to make them work and all of that.
Yeah, I think running, I mean, biking, similar extent as well, but when you are out there just stride after stride, there's just something about, I mean, you hear the use of the term runner's high, but
Hmm.
there's something that just mentally is really good for you and really helps to switch things up. It's cool that you start running faster, kind of feel that energy the more you do it. I have to shout out my girlfriend Dana, who over the course of the past couple months as we're recording this has made a goal to become a runner and has gone from
Yes,
basically not running at all to consistently running 5Ks. So shout out Dana
that's
for that.
fantastic. Good for her.
Yeah. So shout out the app. And if anybody wants to do something similar in a short period of time, she's been using this app called C25K. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but it's
Mm-mm.
basically couch to 5K and it has a really kind
Oh
of
yeah, yeah.
natural progression to help you run more and more over time. But yeah, it's been amazing.
No, that's awesome.
So let's get to a fan favorite segment called the Wild Business Shout Out of the Week.
The wild business shout out of the week.
Okay.
Isn't it amazing? Wild Business Shout Out of the Week. This is where we talk about a creative marketing campaign or approach that caught our attention. And you know of a British artist who is doing something really innovative with her strategy. Do you mind sharing that story?
Yes, absolutely. So she, yeah, like you mentioned, she's an artist out in the UK. And what she did is she was releasing a painting every day, and the first person to comment sold that's who ended up getting the painting. But the beautiful part about the marketing strategy was that it created this buzz and this energy in her business. And she is on Instagram, mainly that's where she shows up. And so she would create a painting, and in her story, she'd do behind the scenes. You felt like you were in the studio with her, and you got to know her personality and her work ethic and all of that. And then you got to see this painting every day that she created. So you'd set your alarm at, I think it was 8 p.m. every day, is when it would go live on her Instagram and the first person to comment. And it just created this buzz and this energy. And like I said, you got to know her and you felt like you were in her studio space. And you knew every day when you got on Instagram, let's go see what she's up to. Let's go see what she's doing, what she's created. You kind of get caught up. And I thought that was so great for marketing because it was telling her story. You were getting to know her as a person. She was selling paintings, so it also had that element of the business to it, and you were sharing her creativity. It was just this fantastic marketing strategy that she did for maybe a month, 2 months. And I move into a new studio space this week. So I'm super excited about that.
Congrats on that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. It's fantastic. And I am so excited and I want to bring people along on that journey as well. So I thought that was such a great idea because it really showcased her personality and her studio and all of that. And it was a great way to bring her audience along. And so I'm thinking that would be fantastic to do as well as I move into this new space, to not just create this buzz, but create this environment online, even, of just this cohesive excitement and seeing what I'm up to and getting to know the space and getting familiar with this new area that I'm in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you'd rock it. I mean, there's inherently buzz with that approach. It makes me think of call it the adult beverage space. When breweries and wineries have like their limited release batches or limited release beers that they, only have this many amount of cases each year, but like here's when it's coming out. People go absolutely crazy to
Yeah.
get, to like get on the list early and get access to those drinks and actually be able to get them and secure them. Like there's just so much more buzz and excitement with it compared to, like a case that you could get at, your local store.
Oh, totally.
It's a similar approach that she's taking, in that, as you mentioned, you'll start taking in the art world, of that kind of, I don't know if it's putting a time
The
constraint on.
scarcity.
Yeah, scarcity. There it is.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. I mean, believe me, I did study business, trust me. But
I believe it.
but yeah, the scarcity to it adds such a different element and excitement around it. And especially when it's something like you're doing where it's works of art, it can truly just bring it to life to another level, because it's something where the product or what you're selling or what you're offering is something that is creative to the core in itself. So I think that's just a wonderful match there. An awesome example you found.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, yeah, that all artwork is one of a kind, but like you mentioned, it makes it special because of that scarcity and that bringing them along on the process, and they got to see it be created, in the stories and all of that. So, yeah, it's a pretty neat concept.
Absolutely. And while we're recording this, I'm just going to comment right now. Sold. So I got the first one. I'll take it.
Noted.
So let's get to the unusual. So pet peeves, quirks, and weird talents. What is your biggest pet peeve?
It really has to be that dry mouth sound when you listen to podcasts specifically. So I have
Are you calling me out?
No. You've been great. You've been great. I've
Thank
listened
you.
to many of your episodes. I'm like, he doesn't do it. This is fantastic.
Perfect. Working on it.
Yes. I always have water next to me. So right now I have water next to me when I'm in my Facebook group chatting. I always have water or coffee because it's such a gross thing to hear in my mind as you're listening. Like sometimes I have to turn podcasts off because I can't deal.
You mean when somebody clearly needs water, or like when they're licking their lips? What do you mean specifically?
I mean, when someone needs water, I just want to shout out, can someone get them a glass of water, please?
Yeah. When they're
But
constantly
yes.
clearing their throat, like, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
but just that smacking.
That's a big one. Oh, I'll give you brownie points for a reference specific to the podcast world. How about quirks? In addition to drinking water, very healthily amount wise, what is something that is a little bit quirky about your personality that maybe somebody's called you out for, but you love it? It's just who you are.
So I actually had to ask my husband about this because I don't have any quirks now.
Everybody says that.
Yeah. So I fall for every like hook, line, and sinker in cheesy action movies. Whether it's like an explosion or there's a romance kiss scene, like Die Hard. I just saw Die Hard for the first time. Like,
I was just about to say yippee ki motherfucker.
nice. Perfect. I just saw that movie for the first time 3 years ago during Christmas time, of course, because it's a Christmas movie. And I
Okay,
was so
we're not even going to get into that debate.
but it's so fantastic. Like everything, like, whoa, no, he didn't say that. Like it was, yeah. So that's my quirk because I just love action movies, just cheesy ones, the better.
That's a great one. I actually saw it just a couple months before recording this. I saw it for the
Mm,
first time, so kind of in the same boat. And
nice.
I was familiar with it and had heard about the whole Christmas debate, yada yada yada. But I was blown away. Like there's definitely elements of cheesiness to it, but it is an incredible movie. Like I see why it is so iconic. I haven't seen any of the 17 sequels or whatever there are, but like
I have now.
it's oh nice. But yeah, it is a great movie, and yeah, action and cheesy is quite
Yeah,
the
well put
combo.
together, all of it.
Absolutely. How about weird talents? So you can't say painting, obviously, but what is something that actually doesn't really have an effect on your business, but is maybe just something like around the house or a memory trick, something that you just have a knack for or are really good at?
I probably have two main ones, and one is
Go for it, both of them.
I can do the voice of Lois Griffin from Family Guy.
No way, you can't. All right, you
Yeah.
take as much time as you want, but you have to do that right now.
Come on, Peter. What color's a fire truck? Oh, that's right, Peter. They are red.
Oh my god, that's all. That's such a hard voice to do. I've never heard anybody do that. Wow,
I
congrats.
didn't
That's
take
Are you Alex? Are you
Alex
the actual voice of
Borstein.
her? Yeah, Alex Borstein.
Yeah, I'm also Alex Borstein. No, no, I didn't even have to practice that. It was like one day I just wanted to talk like Lois. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was for Halloween one year, I was Lois
While
Griffin.
watching Die Hard.
Yeah, while watching Die Hard. But no, I was her for Halloween one year, and it was like the whole night I just talked like her. And by the end of the night, my throat was hurting pretty bad. But
You need some water.
yeah, I needed water.
That's amazing. I grew up on Family Guy, so this is a dream come
Yes.
true. All right, so
Yeah,
what's the next? I'm
likewise.
sure the next one will be even better. But
No,
what's the next?
no. Do you remember TLC, their song Waterfalls?
Of course, yeah. Are
Okay.
you do a TLC impression too?
Well, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, she had a verse in there that she would sing. And my younger self, I spent so much time in my bedroom listening to that CD to learn that whole verse that she has so that I can rap it. And as an adult, I love it for karaoke. Like, so I can sing that whole verse that Lisa Left Eye Lopez does in the Waterfalls song.
Oh my God, are you up for it? Well, actually, are you up for doing it in the Lois Griffin? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that would be super tough.
Are you up
Um,
for it, or at least a few lines of it?
yeah, I mean, I could do the whole. I mean, I could do the whole thing. Yeah, let me get a sip of water.
Go for it. Yeah, take as many sips of that waterfall as you want.
Nice. Okay. I seen a rainbow yesterday, but too many storms that come and gone, leaving a trace of not one God-given ray. Is it because my life is 10 shades of gray? I pray all 10 fade away, seldom praising for the sunny days. And like his promise is true, only my faith can undo the many chances I blew to bring my life to a new clear blue and unconditional skies have dried the tears from my eyes, no more lonely cries. My only bleeding hope is for the folk who can't cope with such an adoring pain that it keeps them in the pouring rain. Who's to blame for tooting cane into your own vein? What a shame you shoot a name for someone else's brain. You claim the insane and name this day and time for fall to prey to crime. I say the system's got you victim to your own mind. Dreams are hopeless aspirations and hopes are coming true. Believe in yourself. The rest is up to me and you.
Whoa.
End scene.
Oh my God. All right.
My younger self would just thank me like you remembered it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I forgot how long a verse it is. That's you are okay. You've taken the cake. You've taken the confection, the pastries, everything of this
Nice.
weird talent section.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. So congrats on that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm starting to think you're a pretty talented person.
Oh,
So
thanks. Weird
all right,
gifts. Got 'em.
let's wrap up with four more verses. No, I'm just kidding. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What if you had to pick one? What is your favorite painting you ever created?
Oh, jeez.
You're welcome.
It has to be Dancing in the Rain. And I mean, it's rapid fire, so I don't know if you want a full description, but Dancing in the
You can
Rain.
rapid fire is more for me asking, which I fail at anyway. But you go feel free to take as much time as you want.
Okay, so there was one painting. It was a rainy day, like from morning to night, and it was a Saturday. And the whole day, I just painted this piece, and it was colorful, and it was obviously the whole spiel was colorful, it was bright, it was energetic, and it had a bunch of drips. And I thought it was like my next level abstract painting. So I was so proud of it from that realm. But this extra meaning to it that's taken place, the original did sell, which is awesome. But local hospitals, like our local Siteman Cancer Center, has commissioned me to create paintings based on that piece. And the whole color scheme of the new cancer center is based out of colors from that painting. So it has this really emotional, deep, meaningful piece to it that's really
Mm.
been so fulfilling.
Yeah, that's so cool. It has extra meaning to it. So
Mhm.
that's a great one. How about what is your favorite painting that somebody else has created? So could be a super famous one or could just be something that one of your friends created recently.
Oh, I would have to say my favorite painting is Scream by
Oh yeah.
Edvard, and I never
Monk
say his
Munt
yeah, Munch.
Monk. I
Yeah,
don't
you have
know.
to look into it. But the funny thing is, so I have a friend of mine, we have seen replicas, her name's Tara, and we've gone to different museums that have quote unquote the Scream. And I went overseas to another country, and we've never seen the real one. There's so many versions of it that he created. It's almost this elusive painting that you don't know if it's the real one or not, or if it's in sketches or a different version. So it's kind of this life joke of, will you ever see the real one? Because you've seen so many of these versions, it's just this elusive painting. Does it exist?
Yeah, that's such a famous one. That's a great example. I think it's appropriately named because there's a number of things that you could call it, but kind of just calling it the Scream, as simple as that is, makes you wonder like, "Oh my god, like what are they screaming about? Like what's going on there?"
Right.
So it's really creative all the way through. On the flip end of that, so in like a not so not so noble and historic approach to it, I find that that is like one of my favorite emojis to use, the one with like the hands up as it looks like it's like I always think of that painting when I use that emoji. I don't know if you've
Nice.
ever
Perfect.
I don't know if it was designed to be that way or not, but
It had to have been because it's so perfect for it. Yeah. And that's your
yeah,
favorite? That's great.
it's up there. Well, probably the crying laughing one's my
Yeah.
favorite, but yeah, it's up there. How about you mentioned action movies, cheesy action movies. Besides Die Hard, what is the cheesiest action movie that you've watched?
Oh, I just love Terminators. The Terminator movies. I mean, I think it's the second one. Is that where the guy melts into the metal?
I'm not sure. I have like a Rolodex of movies where guys melt into the metal, but
Such a common theme.
yeah, that's my
Yeah.
second favorite emoji.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, so Arnold Schwarzenegger, pretty much any one of his films. I mean, of course, you've got the Terminator, but yeah, anything Arnold Schwarzenegger put there.
Or when he was Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, well, no, 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 thank you. Yeah. Not that one.
What is your favorite type of candy of all time?
I don't know. I don't eat a lot of candy, which is sad.
I'm with you, but maybe growing up.
I mean, I love sprinkles, so I don't know if that
Hmm,
can be candy,
we'll give it to you.
but okay. Colorful, fun, put them on anything.
Yeah, yeah, fits with your paintings.
Yeah.
And then if you were so this is kind of a bizarre question, but there's so many historic landmarks in the world. Obviously, like so many of those are like untouchable. You wouldn't want to paint murals on them or anything. But let's say it would there was a positive stigma attached with like putting murals on famous landmarks. What landmark would you paint something on?
Holy cow.
I've been
Um,
thinking of that for like 7 years.
I don't know because I feel like if I painted a mural on something, it would desecrate it, especially like
Right, but what if you could make it more like colorful and beautiful? Like
the Lincoln Memorial would be great.
I can't believe you painted it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's little graffiti art on there. I don't know. It's just such this awe. I have seen it in person, and it's a blank white canvas that's just asking for color, and it's so awing. It's such a huge space. So I would say that would probably be my choice.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. I just always wondered like what artists view, if you could think of like anything as a canvas and let's say it was like a positive stigma attached to it as opposed to somebody looking at it as like graffiti or defacing, like
Mhm.
it's kind of fun to picture that. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's enough fantastic or just really weird questions for you today. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story, your creative process, all the amazing things you're doing, and your rapping and Lois Griffin impression. I'm still speechless, but
Oh, thank you.
where's the best place for people to connect with you, to buy your art, anything you want to shout out?
Okay, so I do have a website. It's my first and last name, jessicahitchcock.org. And then my Instagram is at Jessica_Hitchcock. And that's where, if you want to see kind of a portfolio of all of my work all in one there. And then for artists, I teach in the Creative Business Convo. That's the name of my Facebook group for artists and creative business owners. I show up there and I go live and have lessons and all the good stuff.
Perfect. And last thing here, final thoughts. It could be anything you want if you feel like rapping or doing impressions again, or just maybe your favorite quote of all time. Whatever you want, send us off here.
Favorite quote of all time, I'll go for it. We're all stories in the end. Just make it a good one.
That is a good one. You might even say fantastic. Thank you, Jessica. That was a work of art. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite app and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Good Pods, where you can find all the podcasts your friends, family, and others are listening to. In addition, check out everything Hippo Direct has to offer at hippodirect.com, and you can connect with us on social media on your favorite platform at the handles Hippo Direct and Max Branstetter. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!